Starting route to Escapeexpeditions.
So I think we're going to talk about Tinseltown first, correct?
Yes, full name, which is Trouble in Tinseltown, I believe.
Yes.
And Jocelyn is going to tell us a story.
Extra, extra, starlit slain on Sunset Strip. Listen up, Gumshoe. Hollywoodland is a black and white place. The boulevard chews them up and spits them out. So put your training to use and get justice for the deceased tonight. And by the way, there's no need to adjust the color. This is the hard-boiled 1940s, Flatfoot. You'd better get used to it.
I love those names that you used.
Yeah.
So as the story describes, this is a black and white story that is set in the 1940s. And when it says black and white, it literally means the whole room is grayscale.
Yeah.
Which I thought was super cool.
Yeah, it was fun and different. The story starts before you get into the room. So it happens in the lobby and in the kind of pre-show situation.
Mm-hmm. And
all the rules are given to you before any of this even starts. So there's like, these are the rules, this is what's happening. And then, right? That's how it was.
Yeah, like kind of giving you a heads up of, you know, the regular escape game rules before the game master gets into character and starts going through the experience with you.
Yes. Instead of like, okay, we're going to go down the hallway to this room now, the story happens to you and you kind of understand why you're in the situation that you're in and what the problem is and what you have to do. And then you have to do that puzzle that we were talking about earlier to get into the space itself. So that was really cool as an immersion factor.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you actually enter the room, it feels like you're walking into an old-timey black and white movie.
Yeah.
Which was super interesting, especially, of course, with the theme of the room. It all felt very natural.
Yeah, authentic.
Very. And it was cool that we were the only thing in the room in color.
Yeah, how fun.
So I think that really helped with the immersion factor, which is our next category. Everything about the room felt natural in the space, and even the clue system and the way that you're told how much time you have left also fit into the story as well, which for me helped with the immersion a lot.
Yes, that's my favorite thing ever in games. Immersive clue systems.
I know, we're
and
suckers for
immersive
that.
timers. You do that and I am hooked.
It just makes it feel like you took it to the next level for me, because I mean, anyone can get a clock and put it on the wall, right? And that has nothing to do with the story. And for us, we've played so many games that it's like something that you can tweak about it that's different from everything else we've played makes it stand out.
Yeah. So this game didn't have a way for you to tell exactly how much time you had left. You just had a general idea of how much time you had left.
Yeah, like when you had 45 minutes left, you would get this particular alert. 30 minutes left.
Yeah, so you could pace yourself, understand how much time you had left without actually seeing like a ticking clock, very escape game-y,
right,
on the wall.
Same thing with the clue system. It wasn't like a traditional type of situation either.
So I think immersion especially is a big standout for Lokey's for me. They worked really hard in that category, and it showed, and it made me enjoy their games a lot more than I would have otherwise.
Yeah, I had so much fun in the aspect I started talking in like an old-timey voice.
Yeah.
Which obviously I'm really bad at, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it helped me to get into character, and
You wanted to solve the murder.
There's been a murder!
See, that's how it was the whole game. All right, next is production value, unless you want to say anything else about immersion.
We can move on to production value.
Okay.
So I think that, you know, we were recently talking about the Escape game, which has exorbitant budgets, like, you know, ludicrous amounts of money that they can spend on games. And obviously that, like, makes you walk in and you feel like, wow, I'm on a movie set. Like, this is fantastic. And obviously something like that is impressive. But I also think that someone who's working with a low budget...
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to make the space believable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's one thing that Lokey's does really well, especially in this game.
Yeah, I think the production value in this game was convincing enough for what it was trying to be.
Yeah, I think that for what it was trying to convey, it was perfect. I mean, we were supposed to be in a black and white 1940s-esque room, you know, trying to solve this murder. and it didn't really need to be anything crazy over the top fancy.
Yeah, I mean, this room, the first room is kind of like an office situation.
Some kind of producer / director office. There's like Oscars in the cabinets and film scripts in the desk and a typewriter.
Yeah, it conveyed what it was trying to convey. And then the second part, which I will not spoil what it is, but the second part was also pretty decent. I didn't think the production value was out of this world, but I thought it was
convincing
and good for the room that we were in. Yeah.
And the transition from the first space to the second I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, our next category is puzzles. So in particular for the puzzles of this game, which was different from the other two games, I remember Richard told us before we even got into the room to follow through.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, okay, like
sure.
Why do you need to say this specific advice for this specific game, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we actually got in the room and I kept repeating to myself, he said follow through with like what you're doing, that it all made sense, because there was a lot of things in this game that I remember you would do like halfway and you're like, oh, maybe I just need something else and we'll figure this out later, and you would put it down and you would move on to something else. But really you had everything you needed and you just needed to follow through.
Yeah, which is funny because now there's a game that I run at work and I tell people to follow through all the time because his advice worked so well on me in that game that I'm putting it into other people's heads.
Yeah, so one thing I would say about this game is that if you think that you are done with something and you can move on, you're lulling yourself into a false sense of security.
Yeah, I will say for me, the puzzles were kind of a mixed bag. Some of them were really cool and I liked them a lot. Some of them were puzzles that I had seen before, which is okay, but for me, I really like unique and creative puzzles. So there were some of them that I really liked and some of them that I was just about.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that just because you've seen something before doesn't make it any less fun to actually execute. There's some specific puzzles that we don't like to do, but that's not to say that this whole game was filled with them or anything.
Right, no, that's why I said it was a mixed bag. So there was definitely some of those, but there was definitely some that I really liked, and I liked the game overall. From a puzzle aspect, if we're picking it apart.
Yeah, if you had to be really nitpicky, there was one really cool puzzle I remember that was something I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
That really fit with the old Hollywood theme that I really liked. Obviously, we're not going to give spoilers about it, but when you see it, you'll know what I mean. So in terms of overall experience, what are your thoughts?
My favorite thing about this game, and really all the games, was the immersion factor. Starting the game in the beginning, in the hallway, was really cool. The clue system was awesome, and the timer system, also kind of built in to the same thing, was really cool.
I agree. I also really liked how the production value matched the story and the immersion aspect of the game, and it really made me feel like I was in a black and white movie, which was really unique. And like we said, I mean, the puzzles were kind of hit or miss for our particular experience level, but that's not to say that this game is not really fun from start to finish, and I definitely recommend it if you're heading to Lokey's and looking for something
black and white. I will say also that I thought it was on the easier side.
Yeah, just as like an aside, I guess, our team of 2 finished all 3 of these games in like 45 minutes or less. So I don't know if that is indicative of their difficulty level or if it's indicative of our experience level. It's probably a mixture of both.
I think it's a mixture of both because I'll say in all 3 games, there were puzzles that we had seen before, so we knew what to do immediately.
Right, yeah.
Versus, like, a new player is not going to have that same experience.
Yeah, like, if we see something, we immediately know what to do, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Versus someone who doesn't know, obviously. Just out of curiosity, are there difficulty levels listed on his website?
No, but I do remember him telling us that Trouble in Tinseltown was the medium difficulty one.
Does that mean Detention was the hardest and Press Start was the easiest?
It does, yes.
I think I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would too.
All right, any final thoughts about Trouble in Tinseltown?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
Your destination is on your right. The end of this review.